Hi, my name is Alex, and I'm a 30-year-old woman who's been through a lot recently. Even though some time has passed, it still feels like everything happened just yesterday. I wanted to talk about it with someone other than my family and friends, so here I am. Let me start from the beginning. I was born much later than my sister. She was 16 years old when I was born. Because of the big age gap, we never had a close sisterly bond, although she did spoil me a lot. It felt like she treated me more like her own child than her sister. By the time I was old enough to remember anything, my sister was already off to college. When I was 10 years old, I attended her wedding. She was already pregnant at the time, so I was excited not just for the wedding, but also to meet my niece and have another kid to play with. 5 months after the wedding, my niece Tori was born. I still clearly remember visiting her in the hospital right after she was born. I was so excited to see her little face and felt an overwhelming amount of love for her. After Tori came home, I spent as much time as possible with my sister to help take care of her. As the years went by, my love for Tori only grew. I would always offer to babysit whenever my sister needed help. Instead of thinking of each other as aunt and niece, Tori and I felt more like siblings. That's why it was so hard for both of us when I had to move to a different state, Florida, to study and work. But I made sure to always call home and stay in touch with my family, especially Tori. The distance didn't break our bond. In my last year of university, I met my husband, Caleb. He was the star football player, and I still don't know how I caught his attention since I wasn't into sports at all. I spent most of my time reading in the library, but one day Caleb found me there and started talking to me. What I loved most about him was how confident and charming he was. Later, after we were together for a while, he told me he was actually nervous to talk to me, but I never would have guessed that from how confidently he approached me. We went on several dates and quickly realized that even though we had different interests, we fit well together. We shared the same sense of humor and spent all our dates laughing until our bellies hurt. It didn't take long for us to make our relationship official. I always made it clear to Caleb how much I loved my family, so we met them through many video calls. The only person I didn't tell about Caleb was my niece Tori. Even though Caleb had met almost everyone important in my family, he hadn't met Tori yet. I did talk to him about her a lot though. One day, Caleb asked why he hadn't met my niece, even though I talked about her so much. I told him, "Babe, I haven't introduced you to Tori because she's just 11. I want to protect her innocence from my adult life." He replied, "I don't think 11 is too young. I'd like to meet her and be part of her life too. Tori is the most important person to me, but she's still a child. She doesn't need to be involved in my romantic life," I explained. "It feels like you're keeping me separate because you doubt our relationship's future," he said. "What? That's not true at all," I assured him. "You're afraid of introducing me to Tori in case things don't work out between us. You don't want to introduce her to someone who won't be a constant in her life," he continued. "You've got it all wrong. It's about protecting her, not doubting us," I said. "All right, fine, let's drop it. Just understand that I see a long future for us, but I'm just not ready to mix our worlds yet," I explained. I understood why Caleb was upset, but I wasn't ready to involve Tori in this part of my life yet. I wanted to protect Tori's innocence, even though deep down I knew I wasn't really doing that. In my mind, she was still that little baby I first met in the hospital, and I wanted to keep seeing her that way at least until she became a teenager. 2 years after we graduated from college, Caleb asked me to move in with him, and I happily agreed. I was thrilled to live with the man I was so deeply in love with. During this time, I also met all of Caleb's family. Caleb was still a little hurt that I hadn't told Tori about him yet, but he chose to let it go instead of bringing it up. I could tell he was still bothered by it because he would briefly mention it before dropping the subject. When Tori turned 13, I waited a couple of months before finally telling her about Caleb. We got on a video call one day while Caleb was out for a run. "Tori, I have something to share with you," I said. "What's up?" she replied. "I have a boyfriend." "Really? Oh my gosh, tell me everything," she exclaimed. "His name is Caleb. We met in college and have been together since my senior year. Is he a good guy?" she asked. "He's the best. You'll love him," I assured her. "I can't wait to meet him then." "Well, actually, we were planning to come for Thanksgiving." "Wait, seriously? I've got bad timing, huh?" "What do you mean?" I asked, confused. I got into that boarding high school I've been raving about for ages. I need to be there next month. That's amazing, Tori. I'm so proud of you. Yeah, but I won't be around for Thanksgiving. Don't worry about it. I'm planning on marrying Caleb anyway, so you'll have plenty of time to meet him. You're already planning weddings, huh? I love it, she said with a laugh. We spent the next half hour excitedly talking about Tori's new school. I learned that Tori would only have some time off, but now that Caleb and I were working, we couldn't just take off to go meet her. And when Tori was at school, she wasn't allowed to use electronics for long periods. Tori was fine with that because the school had so many extracurricular activities that would keep her busy and tire her out by the end of the day. I was excited for her to experience new things. When Caleb came back from his run, I told him about the call. Once again, he was disappointed that he missed meeting Tori, but he felt better knowing that I was ready to introduce him. He didn't mind waiting because he knew I wasn't purposely keeping him away from the most important person in my life. A couple of months later, while we were visiting my family for Thanksgiving, Caleb decided to propose to me. I couldn't have imagined a better time for him to do it. He knew how much I wanted my family to be there during my big moments. I said yes with the biggest smile on my face and tears streaming down my cheeks. We got married within the next year. Tori, of course, heard the news and sent a text congratulating me. Caleb and I spent the next year meticulously planning our wedding. We wanted everything to be perfect. Since Tori was still at school, there was no way for her to attend the wedding. I was crushed that she couldn't make it, but I knew her education was more important than an event like a wedding. Plus, Caleb comforted me by saying we could have a small ceremony after Tori graduates to replicate our wedding. The wedding was a grand affair. Everyone laughed and cried, and I felt like the luckiest girl alive. The love and support I received that day were beyond anything I could have imagined. I truly believed that the rest of my life would be blissful because I'd get to spend it with Caleb. And for the first year of our marriage, that was true. But then things started to go downhill. We both had stable 9-to-5 jobs, made good money, and lived comfortably. We were never really interested in having children, so that wasn't something we had to plan for. So it came as a surprise when one night while we were lying in bed, Caleb asked if he could start working overtime. "Babe, there's something I need to talk to you about," he said. "What's up?" I asked, a little concerned. "I've been thinking about taking up overtime at work," Caleb said one night as we lay in bed. "Overtime? Why the sudden interest?" I asked, surprised. "I've been aiming for a promotion for a while now, and the extra money could help us," he explained. "I love that you're passionate and ambitious, but we're already comfortable," I said. "I know, but I think we can do even better," he replied. "I love our time together, just relaxing after work and on weekends. It means a lot to me," I told him, hoping he'd understand. "I value that too, but I see the potential for more," he said. "It's not about potential, it's about quality of life. I want to enhance our quality of life through hard work," he insisted. "I respect your choices, but I'm not happy with this decision," I admitted. "I'm doing what's best for both of us," Caleb said, then turned over and turned out the light after wishing me good night. I was left awake with my thoughts, feeling upset that Caleb had made this decision without really discussing it with me. We didn't need the extra money. Both of us were able to save a good amount each month. We had made smart investments and had our retirement funds set up. We lived comfortably, so I didn't understand why he felt the need to work more. But I figured that if Caleb was happy, I would be happy too. The next few months were torture for me. Caleb started coming home late and was usually too tired to do anything. He'd eat dinner and go straight to bed. He even worked on Saturdays and spent Sundays sleeping. I barely saw him properly most days, and I missed spending time with my husband. I tried talking to him about cutting back on work, but he always brushed me off, saying it was for our benefit. Eventually, after 6 months of this, Caleb did get promoted. I thought this would mean he'd have more flexibility with his time. While he did get more flexibility, it came with constant business trips. Every other week, he was flying out of state. It got to the point where it felt like I wasn't living with my husband anymore, just a roommate I barely knew. I didn't know what to do. One month, Caleb hadn't been home for more than 2 days, and that was my tipping point. I broke down in front of him, asking why he never spent time with me anymore. "Seriously, Alex? You're being so dramatic," he said, annoyed. I'm not being dramatic, I'm just expressing my feelings, I said, hurt. Well, you're being selfish. I'm working hard for a better life for us, he shot back. I never asked for any of that. All I want is time with you, the simple things we used to do, I pleaded. Right, because sitting on the couch watching junk TV is so fulfilling. Stop being ungrateful, he snapped. You're calling me ungrateful? I appreciate your hard work, but it's tearing us apart, I said, my voice shaking. If I waited for you to tell me what to do, I'd be stuck doing nothing in life, he retorted. Do you really think I'm holding you back? I asked, shocked. You settle for less, you're happy with the bare minimum. I'm not like that. I want more from life, he said, his frustration clear. I'm not settling. I'm content with what we have because it's enough for me, I tried to explain. And that's your problem. You're too lazy to chase after better things, he said harshly. I'm not greedy, Caleb. I value what's important over constantly working myself to the bone, I replied, tears filling my eyes. You just don't get it, do you? He said, storming out of the house, leaving me standing there, overwhelmed by a flood of emotions. How could Caleb treat me this way? How could he look at me with such disappointment when he used to see me as the light of his life? I let it be for a while, trying to process everything. Eventually, Caleb's business trips became so frequent that he barely lived with me anymore. My hurt numbed me entirely. I stopped talking to everyone as I sank deeper into depression. What pulled me out of my depression was a call from an unknown number. At first, I ignored the calls, but they were so persistent that I finally answered. I cautiously said, "Hello." "Hello, Alex, it's me, Tori," the voice on the other end said. "Tori? Oh my goodness, it's really you. How have you been? How come the new number?" I asked, surprised but thrilled. I know, it's been too long. I lost my phone and had to get a new one. Plus, it helped that I lost it right around the time I graduated high school. I'm so sorry I haven't kept in touch. Life got busy, and I let time slip away, she explained. Don't worry, I've been swamped too. Even keeping up with my own mom was tough. So, how come the sudden call? I asked, curious. I picked a university in Florida, Alex. I'm actually in Florida now, she said. No way, that's amazing. I'm so happy you're close by. We have to meet, I said excitedly. I was hoping you'd say that. I've missed you so much. Can we really meet up? She asked. Of course. Let's make plans. I can't wait to see you again, I replied, smiling. Me too. It's going to be awesome catching up, she said. We set a date for that weekend. I thought it was the perfect time because Caleb would be home that weekend, and I was eager to see Tori again after all this time. I realized that Tori's university was only an hour's drive from where I lived, so we could meet up more often. That night, I called Caleb to share the news, but he didn't seem to care. I got upset and asked, "Why aren't you excited about meeting Tori? After all this time, I've realized I'm never really a priority for you. You kept me hidden from someone so important to you with some silly excuse." Caleb responded, "That's not true. I don't think my feelings about this are silly. Can't we just forget about it for now? I still want you both to meet." "It doesn't matter now," I said, "but could you at least be nice when Tori's here? I don't want her to see our problems." "Oh, so now you care about appearances. When will you be honest with her?" Caleb shot back. "It's not about that. I just want her to see the good parts of us." "Good parts, huh?" "Doesn't seem like there's much of that left these days," Caleb said, walking away. I couldn't understand why Caleb was being so difficult. I wasn't asking for anything unreasonable. I would have said the same thing if any other family member was visiting. I decided not to think about it too much because it only made me feel worse. When the weekend arrived, I greeted Tori with a big hug and teared up seeing how much she'd grown. We had 2 hours alone before Caleb came back from his trip, and during that time, we caught up on everything we'd missed. We laughed and cried together as we remembered the past. When Caleb finally came home, he went to freshen up in the bedroom. When he came back to the living room, he kissed me and then introduced himself to Tori. Tori looked confused as she shook his hand. "How have you been, Tori?" Caleb asked. "I've been all right," Tori replied. "Well, that's good to hear. I've always wanted to meet you. Alex talks about you all the time, but she never let me meet you before. Yeah, I've been meaning to see you too. I'm glad we finally got the chance." "What university are you attending?" Caleb asked. I'm going to New College of Florida. Oh really? Sorry, but you look familiar. I can't figure out where I might have seen you before, Caleb said. Tori hesitated. I'm not sure. You just look familiar. I noticed Caleb looked panicked. He was sweating and trembling. I asked him if everything was okay, but before he could answer, Tori gasped and pulled out her phone. I looked at both of them, confused, wondering what was going on. I asked Tori and Caleb to explain what was happening. Caleb didn't say anything and tried to leave, but Tori stopped him, saying he wasn't going anywhere. I looked at Tori, confused, as she showed me her phone and asked me to look at the photos on it. In the photos, I saw text messages between two people who seemed like a couple. I was puzzled and asked Tori what this was about. Tori explained that she had made a friend at university. When they went to a party, her friend mentioned she was dating an older man named Caleb. Tori showed me several pictures of this man, and I realized that it was Caleb. I asked Caleb if this was true. He tried to deny it and said, "Are you really going to believe a young girl over your husband? You're just avoiding the truth." Tori responded, "There's proof from texts with my friend, but the messages only have a contact name, not a number, so it's hard to confirm it's him." She then showed me more pictures of Caleb on dates with her friend. My heart broke with each photo. I couldn't understand why Caleb would do this. We had been going through a rough patch, but I had hoped we could work things out. I turned to Caleb with tears in my eyes and asked him how long he had been having the affair. Caleb looked away and didn't answer. Tori, clearly disgusted, said she knew it had been going on for 2 years. My heart shattered. I wondered if Caleb's long work hours were really just an excuse to be with someone else. Then another thought struck me and I felt sick just thinking about it, but I had to ask for my own peace of mind. I asked Tori how old her friend was. Tori replied with disgust that her friend was the same age as her. I couldn't bear to look at Caleb anymore. Not only had he been cheating, but he had been doing it with someone so young. I packed up Caleb's things and threw them at him, telling him to leave. He didn't even try to argue. Once he was gone, I ran to the bathroom and threw up, overwhelmed by the disgust of his actions. I cried for a long time, and Tori stayed by my side, comforting me. She spent the week with me as I took the necessary steps to move forward. I quickly filed for divorce and found a lawyer to report Caleb for his crime of dating and sleeping with a minor. Caleb tried to fight back, but the court sided with me. I got most of our assets, and Caleb was found guilty. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison and ordered to pay a $110,000 fine. I felt a sense of justice and relief. After all the pain I had endured, it was finally over. I was deeply disgusted to have been with a man capable of such terrible actions, but I was glad he was held accountable. I found some comfort knowing that Caleb would always be a registered sex offender and that his life would be greatly affected by his actions. It took me another 2 years to fully heal, but I grew stronger from the experience. I moved back to my home state and spent time recovering with my close friends and family. In the end, it was my family who supported me and helped me find joy again. I share my story to remind you that no matter how difficult things get, there is always hope. I'm still healing, but I'm no longer haunted by Caleb's betrayal.